Good morning, fam. Welcome to Say Something Real. I'm Keith Parris. I'm sitting in for Miss Michelle O'Brien.
Man, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
You're getting further and further around that corner, man. It's like you almost at the door.
Yeah, man.
Scoot back this way.
God is trying to tell you
Gotta
something.
feel it.
Everything's gonna be all right.
It's like, come around, something. You throw my camera angle off.
So you know what that is, Debo.
What's that? He on his way out?
That's the now you see me and now you don't.
He didn't move. He moved the other
moved the
chair, but he
chair.
didn't move himself.
He didn't move his body, he moved a chair.
Right here.
Well, good morning. Welcome to Say Something Real.
Let's try to tell you something. Let's try to tell you.
Good morning, Debo. Good morning, Jermaine. How's everybody this morning?
Good. How about yourself?
Man, this is what 7 o'clock look like, huh?
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Man, it's still near dark and
Yeah, man. Baby chimpanzees running around.
man. How was your weekends?
Man, it was great, man. I went to my first blues concert and I really, really enjoyed myself, man. I mean, I really went for the band, and when I got there, I was just blown away.
So was your arms folded?
Yeah, Doc, I was up there hating until they started playing, and my arms quickly came unfolded. Like these cats here, boy.
Some
Wow.
bad boys, man.
Woo-wee. And that young lady, what's her name, Debo?
West Love.
Oh my God! Listen, I've never heard of this chick until what was that Friday?
Yeah, it was
Friday.
night. Mhm.
When I tell you, she could have headlined the show. Her, King George, it was a couple other people, but that young lady stood out to me.
How did Lenny do?
Oh man, Lenny did great, man. To be 80-some years old, man, he did a great job, and his band was locked in. They was locked in, but that young lady. Man, I've been talking about her all weekend.
You know what? We're in what would you call it? A silo here. We're in
Yeah.
Milwaukee.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So we here local. But one of the things I always have to remind myself that there's 330 million people in this country. I mean, there's talent everywhere.
Man,
Talent everywhere.
Unbelievable.
Debo called me. He called me to check on me.
yeah.
I'll talk about this on my program, but he called to check on me, and he told me how good the show was.
Man, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, man.
Well, I know his Mount team had lost.
The Mountain.
Yeah.
Well, come on, man. Again, we'll talk about that on my program. There was no way. And I hate to be, I always talk about those universal positive, universal negative. There was no way
Yeah.
that Mount St. Mary's
Yeah.
was going to beat Duke.
Yeah.
Well, you said that. You said that.
Oh, man, come on.
You said show that picture one last time because it'll be the last time.
Yeah, man. This
In
sacrificial
fact,
lamb,
there
that
it
was a
is.
scrimmage.
Yeah.
Keith, I'm
You going to put it up there?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
up there now. I just wanted you to see that.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was.
What was not, what even could have been.
Funeral.
And like I said, we'll
service.
talk about it because, all the Wisconsin teams lost this weekend.
Yeah.
So let me do this first. George Foreman made his transition this, I think it was Saturday, right? Friday or Saturday, when we got the news that George Foreman had passed. And man, what can't we say, or what can we say about George Foreman? A kid who grew up in Houston. I think it was 4th Ward, 5th Ward, whatever it was, that notorious ward down in Houston. I remember the stories they was telling about him. They said that he would be like a one-man gang. Like there'd be a gang, he go fight the other gang by himself. And I forgot about this piece. We always talk about who is it? John Carlos and Smith, 1968 Olympics, where they did the Defiant, fist. Well, George Foreman fought in the 68 Olympics. As a matter of fact, in Mexico City, he got a lot of blowback because many of the black athletes were going to boycott. And many of them did. Kareem didn't play. There were people there who did not go. But I can't think of what Mr. Smith's first name is. But the counterpoint they had to Carlos and Smith doing the Black Power salute was George Foreman after he won the heavyweight gold medal doing the American flag. And so then it became issues. He turns pro, one of the most devastating punchers ever. You know, people talk about Sonny Liston, but man, when George Foreman hits you.
I always was raised, as they would always tell me, he was the hardest hitting heavyweight out there.
Yeah.
Ever.
Oh, man. I mean, just when you got hit by George Foreman, you got hit. And everybody remembers the famous Joe Frazier fight in Jamaica where he knocked Joe Frazier down 6 times. And at one time when he just tapped him in the back of the head and he bounced.
Yeah. Donkey Kong.
Yeah, Marvis Frazier, he tells the story. He said he's in my dad's corner. And he said, Daddy, stop playing. He said, Daddy, stop playing.
That's how hard he hit.
That's how hard he hit. So when they did the was that the Rumble in the Jungle? Yeah, when they Kinshasa.
That was in Africa?
Yeah. 1974. Most people thought that there was no way that Muhammad Ali was going to be George Foreman. And they show when George Foreman took off, he had on this dashiki, went the way in, and you see muscle on top of muscle, and you're going, man, Ali's in trouble. And then we got the news that Ali had not only won the fight, but knocked him out. That was like, whoa. And then he went into a spiral, downward spiral, dealt with depression, a whole lot of things. He fought Jimmy Young, and after the Jimmy Young fight, he retired from boxing, and he just went away. And then he had a Christian conversion. He started preaching there in Houston and built a church, and he had a youth center there. And so he said, you know what, I could raise money by getting back into boxing. So he got back into boxing, and he took some. Didn't he fight Holyfield?
You know,
he fought Holyfield.
Cloudy on that.
Yeah, and he was taking.
I know he came back and he took some fights.
Oh man, he took some fights, and he ended up.
Then later, I know he did the whole George Foreman.
When he was 45, he fought Michael Moore, right, and he became the oldest man ever to win a heavyweight championship at the age of 45. Now, if you talk to Michael Moore to this day, Michael Moore did not believe he got knocked out.
Clean.
Yeah, I mean, he got knocked out.
But he had, if you ever paid attention to him, he had he didn't like hit you like this. He hit you like that.
Oh man, and he took him out. And but by that time, George Foreman was also making money. I don't know how many of y'all had the George Foreman grill.
I had 2 different ones.
Did you?
Yeah.
They weren't bad. They weren't bad at all.
They weren't, but no. You know, the world was on this health thing. You know, you want to try to get all the grease out you can. So
Right.
it was timing was everything for that particular product.
Well, I know those burgers look good when they used to cook them on TV. Mine never turned out like that.
They be dry.
They never look like that.
I never turned out like that.
I've been bamboozled.
Yeah, and so this guy had gone to George Foreman with the idea to use his name, right? He said, hey, man, you put your name on the grill. And I think George Foreman got 60%. It was a 60-40 split, which is really kind of unusual because usually people trying to beat you. Those grills became so popular that the guy ended up buying them out because, you know, the money that I think they still make George Foreman grills, but how he was, how he bought him out, and George Foreman then becomes a multi-millionaire. It said a whole lot about redemption. And here's a guy who, what was it? Ali Boumbaye? Was that what they were singing?
Ali Boumbaye. Ali Boumbaye.
Yeah, which was Ali Kill Him. And George Foreman did something. He loved dogs, and he didn't even think about it. When he goes in, Zaire, he has these German Shepherds. What he missed was that the German Shepherds were used to control the crowds there in Zaire, right? So they just looked at him as being like person non grata. Didn't think the fight was going to happen because George Foreman had suffered a cut in training, so they ended up delaying the fight, which probably benefited Ali in a lot of different ways. You know, things have to line up in a certain way where then you're able to go in, because there was no way that Ali was supposed to win that fight.
But there was more than one Rumble in the Jungle. Didn't they do it twice?
No, then they had when he fought was it Joe Frazier?
Yeah,
The
I think
Thriller in
Frazier.
Manila.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I'm talking about, the Thriller in Manila.
Yeah, George Foreman Grill. Okay, because this is the George Foreman Grill, originally called the George Foreman Lean, Mean, Fat Reducing Grill Machine, is a portable double-sized electric grill invented by Michael Bone. The grill debuted in 1994 and became a retail success. The grill's key selling points was its ability to cook both sides of the food simultaneously, draining fat into the drip tray. The grill's 20-degree slope was originally helped to scrape fajita. You guys do fajitas? Yeah. And then, so it became real popular. Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Good morning, Keith.
Hey.
This is Rick calling you from Germany, man.
Hey, Rick.
They love boxing, and they are among the few who love George Foreman.
Okay.
I got only one question about Brother George Foreman. How could he name so many children George?
Why did George Foreman name all his boys, right? And even girls had George in the name, right?
I don't know about the girls, but I think he's got like five sons that he named George.
Okay, he said he had 12 children, including 5 sons, all named George Edward Foreman. Also named one of his daughters Georgette. Explaining the name choice for his sons on his website, Foreman said, "I said to them, if one of us go up, then we all go up together. If one of us go down, we all go down together." That was the reason why he named 6 of his kids George or Georgetta. Yeah.
How do you call one of them when you're just hanging around the house?
How if you had multiple siblings and your mom referred to you as a what is that called, a pronoun? How you know which one she was talking about? Voice inflection. He said, because my mama called us boy. I thought my legal name was boy. You know, they calling Keith in school, and I'm looking around. Keith, who's Keith? I know boy, but I don't know Keith, which was Tarzan's son's name, right? Boy. Caller, up to the program.
Good morning, Keith.
Good
this
morning.
is Angela.
Hey, Angela.
I just wanted to say good morning to you, Mr. Debo and Mr. Rylock, because I haven't been calling. I missed talking to you guys. So good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And God bless you all.
And God bless you too.
All right, y'all have a good one. If I had a son, I had a baby by a guy named Jesse, 3 babies, girls. I named my last daughter Jessica. But if I had boys, all their names was going to be Jesse.
You love Jesse that much?
Yeah.
She said
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, you know, people know the story. You may or may not the story why I'm Keith was there was so many Jameses in the family, and my daddy's name was James, and my mama said, well, it's because we had all those other James. It's like, no, you don't want to name me after James. You know, how do you know which James she talked about? Listen to the inflection in her voice. You know exactly
Right.
what James she's talking about. Yeah, George Foreman, man, you really talk about redemption. You know how
I have a big roaster of his, a George Foreman roaster.
okay.
Yeah, I never used it, but it's just sitting in my house collecting dust.
Yeah, it became very popular. Now I don't know, man. If you're cooking the burger, don't you want the grease in the burger?
mean, do you want some kind of juice?
Oh, man.
You guys have a blessed day.
Hey, you too.
All
Yeah,
right.
man. Do you want some kind of juice, man? Some kind of something, man.
Yeah, we don't know the cause of death. They said that he died peacefully, surrounded by his family. And but no, really, 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 really good dude. And you just saw. And sometimes, I was I was thinking about the prodigal son, and this whole, the word prodigal means to be wasteful, and how we can waste parts of our lives. But I love when the prodigal son had reached just the depths of despair and despondency and desperation. And the scripture says, and when he came to himself, and this idea of when we have this recognition of this behavior. I mean, if you're an addict, the addict has to get to the point where the addict says, now it's time to change. And for some people, they just have to hit bottom. Now, some people will stay. Others will, they will be resurrected. And I think George Foreman is just a life where it was a triumphant life, and that we really should celebrate George Foreman. Like I said, he just came back and has given to the community down in Houston, and just the stuff that he was able to do. And also this weekend, Mia Love, who was the first Republican black woman to be elected to Congress in 2015. Her government name was Lamia Love Nee Bordeaux. She's born December 6, 1975. She passed away on March 23rd, 2025. She represented Utah's 4th Congressional District. I think Brig Owens might be doing that now, former football player.
So she was 40.
Yeah, she was young. She
47?
died of brain cancer. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why she left Congress, because I think she was diagnosed with brain cancer. I would love to, if I ever have next time I have an opportunity to talk with Congresswoman Gwen Moore, who served with her, what her impressions was. But she was a Republican there. She's born in New York City, and she ended up. I was wondering, was she a Mormon? But I don't know if she was a Mormon or not. Let's see if she's a Mormon. Yeah. Yep. Okay. She was raised Catholic. She joined the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints after graduating from college in 1998. While working as a flight attendant in 1998, she moved to Utah as part of her work. She also wanted to be closer to the temple and to learn more about her faith. While in Utah, Love dated Jason Love, whom she had met previously when he was an LDS missionary in Connecticut. Jason and Mia Love was married in December 1998, 4 months after their first date. When first married, the Loves lived in America Forks, Utah. They later moved to Saratoga Springs. They had 3 children. So I wondered, she was a Mormon, converted. We'll talk about that in terms of some of the teams that you might have saw, particularly BYU, where you saw that these are older guys, because all Mormons have to do a 2-year missionary work. I don't know if people have seen the Mormons move through the community here, but they're out. As a matter of fact, there's a place that just closed over on 59th and North. There was this hall right there. I'm trying to remember, North Avenue hall right there, owned by a black man. They closed, but I was there picking up food one night, and they were doing karaoke, and you had these Mormons there doing karaoke. They didn't drink, but they were doing karaoke. So yeah, that UC mission. So those white guys that you see usually in teams of 2, white shirt, black tie, black slacks, those are Mormon missionaries. The Mormons, they're missionary workers all over the world. And you see really the introduction of Pacific Islanders, particularly from Samoa, and places like that. A lot of that was because of Mormons' missionary work that they did in the Pacific, and those folks ended up coming here. I wanted to say to Deion Sanders that if you want to be really successful there at Colorado, you need to start recruiting Samoan, especially linemen.
Yeah.
Those dudes are huge, athletically gifted.
Yeah.
But a lot of that you see them in the country. So there are a lot of Samoans and Eastern Pacific Islanders you see in Utah. And you begin to see it. I was just talking, me and my buddy, we were talking, I have to wait in my program, but we were talking about how look at a lot of these major college basketball teams and how many of them have African players. I'm not talking about descendants of enslaved Africans, but people from Nigeria, from Western Africa now who are playing both on the men and women's side. And one of the fascinating pieces on that is like when Tommy Amaker went to Harvard to coach. He was very good there in the Ivy League because he was able to recruit Nigerian players because the Nigerian parents was really about that education piece. So if my kid goes, it was always books, then ball. What's her name? Agulawale.
Oh yeah.
Yep. I mean, it was the same thing. She goes to Notre Dame. So education for a lot of these folks become preeminent for them in terms of the choices that these young men and women are making when they go to college. They're getting degrees, right? Because that's what they're there for. That's how their parents got here. Many of them came here, for education or because of education, and education becomes key. And that would be a discussion that we should have in terms of why it seems that we don't value education the way other people coming from foreign countries do. You're inside Say Something Real. Keith Parris sitting in for Michelle Bryant she's out doing the community good. And so we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Donald Trump is out of control, stopping payments for healthcare and food for hungry kids, eliminating the Department of Education, and letting Elon Musk access your most private information. Now Trump and Musk are backing Brad Schimmel because they know he'll let them do whatever they want. Not Judge Susan Crawford. She'll be the check and balance we need to protect us from Trump when he goes too far. That's why we need Judge Susan Crawford on the Supreme Court.
Now, welcome back to Say Something Real.
With your host, Michelle
Joe
Bryant.
And I'm sitting in for Keith Parris. I'm sitting in. We're just watching. We just watched Foreman just pummel Joe Frazier, and now they're showing him losing to Ali. When are they gonna show the Moore fight? Down goes Frazier.
Yeah, that's that
Down
icon.
goes Frazier. Howard
iconic
Cosell.
guy,
Oh, that's a
yeah.
great.
I couldn't
call.
stand Howard, but he was one of the best commentators to ever pull it off.
Oh,
man.
Howard Cosell.
Yeah.
Oh man, people, they would. Here we go. Here go Michael Moore. Here, bam. Okay, one. Here we bam, bam. Bye. Night, night. Night, night.
Night, night.
Night, night.
He's just standing there looking at
Looking at him, man. He's standing over him.
like I done took and told you.
Yeah, and Michael Moore still in denial. He's still in denial, man. He hit him so hard, man. He knocked
Quick,
him
too.
Yeah, knocked him back to his ancestors.
Boy,
Woo.
I done took and told you.
Man, dude. But they always say in the heavyweight
That's a
division.
lot of chilling.
Yeah, Doc.
Yeah, he had 12
Oh, he was
Yeah,
letting it
man,
ride.
that's a lot of chilling.
by the same woman.
Oh, he was letting it ride.
Yeah. Yeah, look
We got
at yours.
kids listening, man, to my letting it ride.
He was letting it ride.
Oh, that's right. They're out of school.
I said he was letting it ride.
Yeah,
They out of school.
Shooting up the club, man.
yeah.
Did you guys get a chance to see Junior Bridgman's memorial service?
I saw a little bit of it.
You can go on
the news.
YouTube.
Yeah.
I didn't realize 12 was doing it live.
Oh yeah.
But I had a chance to go back and watch it, and watched it again this morning. First of all, that choir. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch it.
Well,
And
if
I
the choir was good, then certainly
Oh yeah.
had to be some bad musicians in the
Yeah.
mix.
Oh man, it was. They just put it together. I mean, it's all my thing. 3 parts.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched, go and watch Angie Stone's service as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna play Tyler Perry's eulogy.
Mm.
Yeah.
But that's interesting because he does this whole thing about how people used her and people got up and she never got. I mean, he paid for a funeral. And the fact that she was out on the road, says that, and they weren't flying; they was traveling in a van.
In that Sprinter, yeah.
Yeah. So when you think about it, but of course, Monique.
Oh boy.
Don't tell me she said nothing.
Oh yeah, Monique came out and said, "Yeah, well, how come Tyler Perry ain't apologized to me? He was supposed to apologize in
about
public
you,
about
though.
2015,
But it's not even
and he
about-
still ain't apologized to me. He's supposed to do a public apology."
So she took
And then she wondered why nobody want to work with her behind.
that moment and made it about her.
It's always about her.
Yeah. That
Yeah,
ain't
It's always about her. I mean, it look, if people say, and I won't use the term everybody, but when a whole lot of people say you difficult to work with, you just difficult to work with.
My mama said everybody ain't wrong.
Everybody ain't wrong. And I said sometimes your enemy is right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just, but when you think about, and she's just a great talent. Oh my God, Monique is like one of the greatest talents to walk the face of the earth. But it was something I heard Bishop Oliphant said. He said that, what does the Bible says, that your gift will make places,
make room
room for you in what? High places.
Mm-hmm.
But Bishop Oliphant said your character keeps you there.
Yep.
We talk about it in sports. There's certain people, man, you just don't want to be around. As talented as these people are, they're a headache, man. They're cancer. And I know Monique got a lot of things she's working through. Very traumatic childhood. I think a lot of what you saw in Precious was probably a lot of what
she
was experiencing as a child. But at some point, man, I know we sit up and say that, please be patient with me. God is not through with me yet. And then you go like, yeah, but how long is it gonna take?
Please be patient.
Yeah, I'm trying to be patient with you, but man, there'd be some folks, and I just said we're supposed to love everybody, but there's some folks, man, it's just harder to love.
Yeah, some folks won't let you love them, man.
Man,
they just won't do it.
Man, I just saw Bishop Meeks, who was married to Juanita Bynum.
Mm-hmm.
He got so frustrated with her. He said, well, then teach me how to love you. And then he wrote a book.
Well, see, that's what I say, even in relationships. I think that if people would be honest, and instead of telling a person how to love you, teach them how to love you, because then there would be no room for any excuses, because the teaching of how to treat you is coming from you.
Well, how about this? This is a novel idea. How about learning how to be more lovable?
That part.
But that's the same thing.
Yeah.
People won't let you love them.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, one, you got to love you.
You got to love you. Yeah.
And I'm not talking about narcissistic kind of, just so in love with you. But I mean, sometimes, it ain't the person who's trying to love you. It's the person who, but then everybody won't love, right? Caller, welcome to the program.
Yeah, you're right, man.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Speaking of Juanita Bynum, I remember her when she lived with the Hines family.
Okay.
And she was daring for Daryl against Pam, who is his original wife he is today. But she was after Bishop Hines. Daryl was back then. But I remember she was living with the Hines family, and she was something else.
Over there on Nealon?
You
talking about over there on Nealon?
I joined the choir. We was, getting me up to prayer with the tenors, and she came down there and like we were doing something wrong. Started praying over us, and we were like, "What?
Yeah,
what are we doing wrong?"
Yeah, she was straight. Was she west side of Chicago? West side?
No, this is Milwaukee.
No. But I'm saying she's from the south side of Chicago. Yeah,
I don't know where she came from, but I just know her.
I never met her.
She lived with them.
I never met her, but I heard, man, that she was a piece of work, man. It'd be like,
she is.
And I used to ask people, who messed on you? Didn't get that diaper off quick enough? I mean, what happened here? Because there'd be some folks out there, man. They and this is the thing.
Well, I got a question, Keith, because I want to figure this one out. I mean, the brother went somewhere, right? You still harboring feelings against Juanita Bynum? It just sounds like you.
No, I have no feelings against her. I never had none against her ever, but I just knew how she was.
Okay, just want to clear that
She's
up.
holy than thou to me.
Yeah, and I this thing that how do you?
I'm glad you don't know nothing about me, man. You done told all the Bishop Hines business.
Yeah, Steve, what you know about Debo, man?
Nothing.
Man, listen here, man.
Hey, we probably the same age, but at the same time, there was wisdom.
Bam and all
You
that.
people wisdom.
That was a bit much.
I mean, he name dropped.
Name drop. Okay.
Jesus.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
I just know from what I've seen. I mean, now she could preach. There was no question.
Oh,
Juanita
yeah.
Bynum can preach. There is, and there's a song that she had out. Hold on, which is actually great. She's a good singer too. But Juanita Bynum, but and so you have to have a.
She wouldn't be my woman.
Oh man, I mean, yeah, because you be writing that book. You be writing the book. I got it in my music, man. There's a song that Juanita Bynum ended up doing that just turned out to be just an incredible song. Juanita. Now, first of all, you're in trouble because her name is Juanita.
Wow, I know a couple Juanitas.
Oh man, you just started something. Oh man.
Is there a song?
You are
about
great.
Juanita.
Yeah.
You are great.
Great.
Oh man,
Yeah.
that she sang that. But Bishop Meeks. Well, that was one of those church marriages where they looked at it as a marriage of convenience. There were some questions about his sexuality, and when they broke up, her minions was out spreading all kind of rumors about his sexuality.
Yeah.
So, but no, Juanita Bynum is. I just think it's hard, man. I mean, for some folks, just to understand that I know you got talent and you're good at what you do, but there's something to be said about humility.
Yeah,
that because after a while, you thinking it's just about me. The world is bigger than Keith, and Keith have to remember that sometimes, because I know I can be selfish. But I don't know how we got on Juanita Bynum. Who we always talking about Monique.
Yeah.
choirs and stuff.
Choirs.
About the choirs.
Oh man, just yeah. Yeah, that's the other thing too. When you're around musical talent,
Well, they're special kind of people anyway.
oh man, you're right. I mean, you just and then I think the thing is, don't believe the hype.
Yeah.
Don't believe the hype. And what I mean by that is that people will tell you how great you are. And if you're in a psychological need where that satisfies some psychological need, but the reality becomes that I'm still not healed on the inside. You talk about healing. I was watching a bit of a message that Bishop T.D. Jakes did to the Church of God in Christ Convocation. And he was just talking about this process of healing. And he told the story that I experienced, that he had gone in for back surgery. And the doctor had told him, oh man, back surgery was a success. We're going to bring somebody down, get you in rehab, teach you how to walk again and everything. He said, well, the dude said it was a success. He said, I popped up. He said, that pain hit me. He said, but I got to be a hero in front of my kids, so I act like it wasn't hurting. And I thought about that because when I had the stroke, and even though it was a very mild stroke, I asked the doctor, so what? Because first thing you want to do, if you've ever been in the hospital, you want to get out. You want to get out the hospital. So when you go home, you say, oh, you go home tomorrow. Like, oh, cool. So we got to go back to work. He said, you go back to work. Now, what he should have said was, why don't you take a week? So I get out on a Wednesday. Thursday, I'm going, Cavalier Johnson was an alder person then, and he had an event over at Silver Spring Neighborhood House. And I was part of the Milwaukee Fatherhood Initiative. And so we were coming over to take a picture. We did a little thing there. Dude, it took me 25 minutes to walk from my car a half a block to that center.
Wait, it took you 25 minutes.
Took me 25 minutes
to walk a half a block.
Walk a half a block.
How far did you live from there?
Oh, I drove there.
I know that's what I was about to get at. Because
I was fine until I got out the car. And then the reality was, I'm not healed, and I'm not fully healed yet. And here's the other thing about healing. Healing starts on the inside, right? Like you can have, like, let's say you get out and you do a real bad cut, and you now on the outside you begin to develop scabs and stuff like that, but it doesn't mean that on the inside it's been healed. And I think that for a lot of us, a lot of times, the healing, the emotional healing, the spiritual healing becomes an internal thing, not externally what we do, because we can look like we're doing all right, but the reality is we're suffering. Yeah. We're suffering big time. And the thing about sometimes church is that we dress up, but we still toe up.
Yeah, because we walk around with this mask on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the mask is a smiley face, but inside, we crying out, that we reaching out for help. And yeah, man, it's a lot of people, especially in the
smiling
church.
faces.
Yeah.
shows no traces
Man, I was
of the evil that lurks within. Can you dig it?
it's, it's funny that you even talking about this because I just saw Donnie McKirkland testimony that is floating around on the internet, and
Which
he
one
was
is
talking about. I'll pull it up for you.
When he got healed from homosexuality?
No, when he was talking about how people saw him and he was smiling and playing music and speaking in tongues, and he was broken, and the person that claiming that they wanted to help him harmed him even more because that homosexual demon is what the guy had, or that's what he said.
What you call
That's
the
what he said.
homosexual demon?
I mean, I'm just repeating what Donnie said. Donnie said that the guy had a homosexual demon.
Yeah, Donnie McClurkin caught a lot of heat. He caught a lot of heat from that to the point that in 2012, he was supposed to perform either 2012, 2008. He was supposed to perform at a Barack Obama political event, and they had to pull him because the LGBTQ plus community just went after him because there's this thing where I don't know if people have heard of gay conversion therapy, which people have now found out not to really be a science, that it really doesn't work. And so it comes down to where you are. I know there's several schools of thought out there. There are one where there are people who believe that our sexuality is a choice. There are others who believe that our sexuality is something that we're born with and that we don't have a lot of control over. But because of the teachings of religion, and particularly Christianity, when it comes to issues around sexuality, you just think about the number of people who, I used to sit there and cringe when I would hear pastors get up and be preaching, where they just condemn homosexuals to a very special place in hell. I mean, going after them. These are the guys that are playing your organ, directing your choir, giving money to your church. And at the same time, and then here was the crazy thing. Some of the most virulent, publicly anti-homosexual preachers were themselves gay, right? They living in the closet. I just heard Yvette Flunder say this. She said, you know what? I didn't get a chance to talk about Tiger Woods. Look at that. You know what? She said that there needs to be, and she was talking about gay clergy, closeted gay clergy. She said there needs to be an agreement between your bedroom and the pulpit. Now, that was controversial on a lot of different levels because we go like, oh. But, Eddie Long is probably the one of the real emblematic kind of examples of that, where, he had his whole ministry was this whole masculinity piece. And we're all into masculinity and we're men. And then come to find out, this dude is closeted,
Fruit by the foot.
Yeah, and I understand, we had this discussion, there's the science of it, there is the belief around it, which becomes one of those things that there's too many people I know who suffered, and I believe suffered unnecessarily, not because of God, but because of people. And because what people put on them, and then people look, it's hard to push back when you say God said it. It's hard to push back for a lot of people when you said the Bible said it. And that's a tough thing. But maybe this whole reconciliation of, appreciating that who we are, a lot of who we are, we had no control over. Like we had no control over who our parents were. We had no control over how our DNA was configured to make us Keith, to make us Jermaine. So,
well, let me say this. I just got two questions for you. With the whole homosexual thing, being the minister of the cloth, I guess, as they say,
my cloth is getting shorter and shorter.
Well, my thing is, it's just, looking at what the scripture says about that, and being a believer, what the scripture says. But my thing is, and I thought about it, and I heard a couple preachers preach on this, and it makes sense. Even if a person do feel like, man, that they was born that way, okay, all right, then you might feel that way, but the scripture tells us whatever that we got to be born again. So even if that was how you feel like you was born, it really ain't no excuse because you have to be born again.
Yeah, but what Jesus was talking about, he wasn't talking
I know.
about, how you get down.
I know.
It was, or who you love.
I
I
know.
mean, that,
But it all falls underneath that, because if that is a sin and what the Bible calls an abomination, sinful act, and that was one of the reasons why, not the main reason why he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, but that was part of the reason. So if that is the case, and if a person do feel like, okay, well, I was born this way, okay, all right, I can't say it because I didn't make you and I wasn't there. But however, that excuse really don't last.
Okay, let's put it this way. What was your lived experience in terms of who you were attracted to? I don't know why I was attracted to girls.
Well,
but
I mean, do you think
I was?
Do you think that
I am?
But do you think that, because again, as a kid, when you're running around playing on the playground, and if a girl kisses you, don't kiss me.
Well, that's
because you don't know
puberty yet.
Exactly.
But once you reach puberty,
once you reach and you know, is it that because it's a natural thing? Well, I'm going to speak to me.
It was natural for me.
Yeah.
It's natural for you.
Yeah.
But for that gay person,
Well,
it was
that's what I'm
also a
saying.
natural thing.
So that's what I'm saying. So
I've heard people say that God didn't create gay people. God created everything.
But this is where I have to push back on that, because everything that happens from a child, from learning how to talk, walk, crawl, is all learned behavior. That's all learned behavior. Don't nobody, no child come out of the womb knowing how to talk and walk.
Right.
So that's all learned behavior.
But sexuality is
It's
given
a learned
to us.
behavior.
No. Sexuality is not a learned behavior. How we act on the sexuality is learned. But the sex drive, why do we have the sex drive? We have the sex drive so we can procreate. That's the primary reason for the sex drive.
Wait, I get that. But
that's
again,
biology.
But again, everything in life, from your knowledge, from everything that we're doing, from our movement, is a learned behavior. So I'm saying,
but some things, fear is not a learned behavior. Fear is.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't. You're born with fear. You're born with fear because it's flight or fight.
No, but this is the thing, though. But no, that's not true, because if you look at a little kid that don't know no better, and if they see fire, they gonna go play with that fire until it burns them, until they know what it feels like.
But as we develop fear, there's certain things where once we can identify what is dangerous.
Exactly.
It's like if you look at a squirrel has a sense of fear. So when the squirrel sees you, squirrel don't know.
But listen,
if you go friend or foe, all the squirrel knows is you need to be aware.
Right. But you actually just said it. You said fear is something that. Wait, say that again so I can make sure.
Fear is something that is part of us.
Okay.
It's part of it. But why do we have fear? Fear is there for survival, right? Fear helps us identify danger, or when we have a sense of danger or being in danger. So it's all about survival. There's certain things, but I agree with you. Most of our behavior is learned, but there's certain things we're born with. You're born with your sexuality. What does that mean? That means, hold on, when you reach puberty, okay, women are able to have children. Men are able to create children.
Right. That is true. But
however, so there's a sex drive. So the sex drive is so strong by design. Hold on. By design.
Right.
This is how we procreate. Now, as human beings, we have this thing called consciousness, and we have all these other layers. Animals don't operate the same way human beings do.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's the other piece when it comes to science. For most rules, there is an exception. For most physical, natural law, there is exceptions, with the exception of death, because death is one of the few certainties
Yeah.
that we can point to
Yeah.
in existence. But everything else,
So let me ask you this. I made a point. Our sex drive, that's something that we have that's natural, which is true. But you won't know what to do if you don't
how you
learn.
act on it is different
No,
than
I get
having it.
No. See, I understand it that we have it. But what I'm saying is, in order for a man to pre-create with a woman, he would have to know how to pre-create with
No,
a
he
woman.
don't.
Wait, hold on. No, wait, listen. No, you would have to know to take what you got to get with a woman and what she got, and y'all get together.
It don't.
That's
it
your
don't-
behavior, though.
It ain't no learned behavior.
No, because
It's
you don't.
desire.
No, but you don't get the desire until you learn it.
No, you don't. You have that desire. You have to learn how to desire.
Hey, we gonna have to flip a coin, man.
You have to learn how to desire.
I'm gonna have to ask Debo what he think when he come back.
So I have to learn how to desire. I have to learn how to manage and mitigate my desire. But the desire is there. Who you have you? And I know you have, because we,
Right.
because we on the couch with you on the regular. You done fall in love with somebody. Oh yeah,
Oh,
you
man.
done,
Wait,
this dude just fell so in love.
Oh man,
So for him to sit up and kind of act like,
you said we'd have been on the couch with you.
we just on the couch with you Friday.
Oh,
Yeah.
For the Thursday.
It's break time, man.
Thursday?
It's
Nah.
break time, man. It's break time.
say something real.
Oh, you don't want to talk about that. Treadmill.
How we get on the couch anyway,
Oh,
man?
man.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. And obviously, I'm not Michelle Bryant. I'm Keith Parris sitting in for Michelle Bryant. It is March is Women's History Month. And so we have the good folks here from the Milwaukee Area Technical College. I'm going to ask Miss Courtney Kelly. Hey, Courtney.
Hi, good morning.
To introduce our guest this morning and talk about, we talk about women who are in the protective service field. So.
Okay, good morning. I'm Courtney Kelly. I work in the MATC Career Hub as a career service coordinator. We're having a conversation today to talk about women in protective service field. I'll talk more about the careers. I'm going to pass it along to Alyssa, who can introduce herself.
Good morning. My name is Alyssa Cahoon. I'm the program director for the EMS programs at MATC.
Janelle?
Yes, good morning. My name is Janelle Jones. I am the Associate Dean of the Community and Human Services Pathway, and Protective Services falls under that pathway.
So when we hear that term protective service, give us a definition of what is protective services.
So protective services at MATC encompasses all of the careers that include police, fire, EMS, and corrections. In addition to our associate degree programs and our technical diplomas, we also run 2 academies. So we have a police academy that caters mostly to the suburban police districts. And then we also have a partnership with the Milwaukee Community Reintegration Center, and we do jailer training for corrections officers across the state.
So when we talk about that whole first responders, primarily that's the term, this popular term that we talk about now. Alyssa, were you a firefighter?
Yes, firefighter paramedic.
Did you go through the program?
I went through some of the fire courses. I have a fire technical or associate degree from Fox Valley.
Okay.
However, I did take some classes with MATC, the driver operator aerial, driver operator pumper.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of times people understand that. And I don't know if MPD now has an educational requirement that there are X number of credits. I don't know if is that the case?
Yep. So I believe it is 5 years. Within 5 years of employment, officers have to attain 60 credits. I believe that a couple years ago, there was a change because of the shortage of police officers, and it was lowered to 40 credits. But we do have what we call credit for prior learning and experience. So if there are police officers out there and they have not yet completed their degree, we do give them, I believe it's 33 credits for their basic training that they do in the academy, and then they can finish up their degree at MATC.
What about the police and fire aid program? Is that related, or is that something that MPD and Milwaukee Fire Department does?
That's something different. You want to talk about the cadets, Alyssa?
Sure. The Milwaukee Fire Department cadet program is about 2.5 to 3 years in length. In the first year, the cadets who are hired by their City of Milwaukee employees throughout this program, they in their first year, they take Firefighter 1 certification exam and EMT, and they take that at the BIT with the instructors at the Milwaukee Fire Department. In their second year, they come to MATC, and we have a collaboration with the fire department where we have them for the whole year to provide their paramedic education. And then when they're finished with us, they've graduated that technical diploma program. They return back to Milwaukee Fire Department, and they finish out the cadet program by moving to the recruit academy. And when they're finished, they are sworn into the fire department.
What is the difference between, I think all firefighters get paramedic training? They
do not. So EMT license is I would say the ticket to entry.
Okay.
Firefighter 1 state certification and an EMT license is the shortest route to employability, those two things. Every department sets their minimum eligibility requirements, and in today's employment landscape, there are not that many that go above and beyond that, just simply because there's a workforce shortage. So there's never been a better time to get into these professions. But at some point, so everybody comes in with firefighter EMT. And then at some point, some may pursue their paramedic license.
So the paramedic, and this is in precise language, paramedic is at a higher
Yes.
training level.
It's the highest level of licensure in EMS. A common reference that I usually use is people are more familiar with the nursing profession. So entry level would be CNA, LPN is in the middle, registered nurse, and now there's advanced practice nurse, nurse practitioner. EMS has a similar level of structure in that emergency medical responder is the entrance point. That's what I would call as the true first responder. So oftentimes law enforcement might hold that credential. It's a certification. It's not a licensure in the state of Wisconsin. And then EMT is on the level of perhaps LPN in this pyramid description. And anyone that you see getting out of an ambulance in the city of Milwaukee has at least an EMT license. Some have a higher one. It could be advanced EMT or paramedic. Advanced EMT isn't that popular of a licensure level, but there are definitely people out there working in the field with that.
So usually, and I'm using this term, first responder, but the fire department usually is dispatched, right?
It all depends on the nature of the call.
It could be either or.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by the nature of the call?
So dispatchers are also kind of lumped into this first responder. They're actually, their tagline is they are the first responder.
Mm-hmm.
They receive the 911 call. So whatever information they're given, they then follow a matrix or process map to determine which units are going to be dispatched. So let's say it's an automobile accident. You're going to get law enforcement, you're going to get fire, you're going to get EMS. If technical rescue, it's going to be fire, it's going to be EMS, but maybe not as much law enforcement. It really just depends. So when I say the nature, if there was a car accident out front here on a very busy street, we're going to need traffic control. So they might have to send an additional unit simply to make sure that the responders and anyone involved in this situation are safe from the traffic. Things like that. That's the nature would be, why is this person calling? Is this a medical emergency? Is their house on fire? Did they crash their car? Things like that.
So in terms of your outreach, this still is considered non-traditional kind of roles or employment for women, right? Can I ask why that is? And then is it changing or getting better?
Well, it's funny you ask. So I was looking at some Department of Labor statistics, and today women make up only 25% of first responders. And to take it even a little bit further, Black women and women of color are even lower, in numbers as far as representation is concerned. I think that we are making progress, that more women are being exposed to these careers. However, there are still some challenges that women in these career fields face. There's the typical stereotypes, that women are smaller, they're not able to do the same jobs that men are able to do, which I think is absolutely not true. And then there are still, even though, we're in 2025, I think that society still does hold some of those traditional male-female gender roles. The woman is supposed to be the nurse. The husband is supposed to be a firefighter or police officer. So there are challenges there. I think also just the way life works, women are traditionally the heads of the households. We have our kids. And we got to be there for our children. And so we're going back to school at a higher rate than, men are. So we have all these other things that we have to juggle. And we want to be firefighters, police officers, and, EMTs and corrections officers. So I think we just have a lot more to juggle. But that really is the reason why we're out here like this. These are lucrative careers. I think everybody knows I started my professional career 20 years ago as a corrections officer.
That's absolutely correct.
And never in a million years thought I would be sitting here, as an associate dean responsible.
And where did you go after you were a correctional
After
officer?
I was a correctional officer, I worked at the Department of Health and Human Services with Mr. Parris here. And then I left there, and then I went to go work for the city of Milwaukee. And then I left there, and now I'm at MATC. So I got a couple pensions.
Look at you. Hey, man, especially in this climate today, you got a pension, especially those fixed pensions. Women make up 53% of the population. You did point out something, though. We have more women now who are, I think there are more women enrolled in college than men now, in terms of percentage. So when we start talking about, I'm going to use this term, we start talking about what DEI was. DEI was basically, let's bring down the barriers, because as Alyssa says, when you get in, you still have to meet all the requirements, of that job. So it's just saying, like what you're doing now, where you're doing outreach to communities who may or may not be aware, one, that these types of careers are there, and that women can go in and be very successful in these careers.
Absolutely.
And just to kind of go back to your question, so non-traditional occupations, just as a whole, kind of what you were alluding to, it is based on those statistics. So any career that employs 25% or less of one gender is considered non-traditional occupation. So like you said, the numbers are still there, but we do focus on a lot of those occupations. So that might be even a male nurse, there's probably less than 25%. We're going to categorize that as non-traditional occupation. So women in protective services are still under that percentage. So we then look at that category as non-traditional occupation. However, they are still growing in that field and increasing their income in these fields as well, because there's still a need to try to increase those numbers.
One of the interesting things was back in the day, in the 30s, the 40s, and even in the 20s, secretaries were male. And then women began to get into, and then the war obviously changed a whole lot of women in terms of access, these not traditional careers. Alyssa, what attracted you to this type of work?
I've always been a very physical person. This work found me. So I had intended to go be a game warden, work for the DNR. But when I was 19, my dad suffered a life-altering farm accident. So I grew up on a farm. And I had to move home. I quit college, moved home, and milked their cows for over a year, which really wasn't ideal for a 19-year-old, let's say. So I felt very isolated during that time because all my friends were at college, and my life was turned upside down. So first, I didn't have a social life anymore. I'm milking cows twice a day. That's not really all that cool. So I just, the people that had responded to my dad's accident, I knew them. I knew that community. So I went to the volunteer fire department, and you could say I never left.
Wow.
And so, yeah.
And this is also faculty, so she's teaching now. Yeah.
So I got into fire first before EMS because I just didn't really care for the blood and guts. I remember my first day of EMT class, I walked in, and that was back at the time where, here's your textbook. They have the name card already out for you, kind of a thing. I opened up the book, and I just looked at a couple pages, pictures, and I had to put my head down on the desk for a while. Luckily, I was there early, so no one saw. But it wasn't my natural way, I guess you could say. But obviously, I've gotten over that. But still, there are times when it's a little much.
Well, there was a plane crash, out at Mitchell Field. And, where we worked off the Elite, we had, deputies there. No, I was on the south side, man. And I remember two of the deputies that ended up responding to that air accident talked about just how traumatic they saw things that, most human beings just don't see, and how they had to work through that. So when you just think about the level of stress and trauma that's involved in the work. But it sounds like you develop a way, is it coping or dealing with it? Is that?
Yes. Actually, PTSD rates in public safety emergency services is actually higher than military. So, which is something people don't really understand or realize. And I would say, yeah, you develop the hard candy coating, but there's still a mushy inside. And you have to figure out how to live with the cobwebs in the attic, so to speak. And it's not always the calls that you might think would bother someone. It's very unique to the person based on, their life experiences or what's traumatizing to them, what's going on in their life at the moment. So pediatric calls are usually a little more weighty, and especially if you just had a child, or there's a connection there between the responder and the patient that they don't know is a connection, but it hits home really close. And sometimes it's not even the worst of the calls. It's just because of that human connection.
So in terms of, you're doing outreach now, what would you say, particularly to women, in terms of getting them involved in these career choices or opportunities?
Well, I'll speak, and I'm sure you'll bring it home. Definitely consider it. Have conversations, volunteer, look at some of your skills and interests to see if this is something that you might want to do. There are different areas that I don't think people remember when we say protective services. People always go to fire, police. Again, we have EMS. We have correction officers and more. And like you said, there's different ways you can start. Sometimes people start at those 911 operators. That itself, like you said, is probably the first responder, working with communication skills and more. Also, perhaps find some mentors and read the stories, but know that these opportunities are there. Just even locally, we have a lot of women in these fields. And I'm speaking women again because we're highlighting Women's History Month here, but locally, there's a lot of women in the field who have been sharing their stories, who have been highlighted, in the news and more. So read their articles, listen to those stories of inspiration, and also know, how they do it, the schooling. People don't realize that many of our police and sheriff are taking classes. They're MATC alum, so they have to go through that process as well. And we also have where, like you said, those credit for prior learning, you're earning credits. You can get those associate's degree. You can get different certifications and licensing. So there are different opportunities for the careers.
There's never been a time to get into this profession, and the investment made on a student's behalf is as low as it has ever been. In theory, someone could be eligible for hire at a fire department on their 18th birthday. The reason I say that is because they can take the EMT class and the Firefighter 1 class before they're 18, and that can be done through the Dual Enrollment Academy, through Start College Now, or simply just come to school at MATC at night or any other tech college at night if the classes fit your schedule. Pass those classes and the certification exams. The state of Wisconsin will issue an EMT license on your 18th birthday, so you can be ready and waiting. And on that day, you could step into a job with a fire department or with private ambulance service, making anywhere from $50,000 to $60,000 annually. Fire departments, as you mentioned earlier, have the state pension plan, which is very magical and wonderful. And I don't think most people realize what that's all about, but our private ambulance partners, they have definitely raised, COVID helped with funding, they are raised to the level of being in the same ballpark as far as hourly wage, compensation, benefits, things of that nature. So to encourage young ladies, get a hold of someone at the college. Our pathway advisors are fantastic. They can connect them with instructors, with women that do this every single day. We have a lot of faculty that do. Our program is very open to having people just come in and talk. Our students, we all love our profession, and we're happy to talk about it. But really, I think what's key here is you have to believe you can do it. How can someone else believe you can do it when you don't yourself? And we talked a little bit about size, physical stature, strength. In some ways, it is very important. However, use what God gave you and simply learn how to use your body. If someone's never had to push themselves to that degree, and why would they? They don't even know what they're capable of. And I found that to be true for myself, even though I was a very physical person. I've never had to move big things in the way that I had to. And so it's not always the size of the person or the strength. It's learning how to use your body to do those things.
Mm-hmm.
And most people have the capacity to do that. But it would take, standing alongside someone and going through the motions and somebody believing in them, but they have to believe it, that they can do it too.
So if people, women in particular, because it's Women's History Month, are interested in taking advantage of the programs, give some numbers or the website.
Sure. So we are at matc.edu. And like I said earlier, we are under the Community and Human Services pathway. We have our telephone number on the website. They can send us an email. They can drop in. They can call us. And we'll be more than happy to help them.
We're having a career conversation tomorrow
We
as
are.
well.
I forgot.
It's okay. With a panel of women in protective services. So there will be someone representing sheriff, EMT, police, and more. So we host things like this. This is open to the public. So
What time?
this is at noon at our main building, the one on 6th and State. We do have an RSVP link, but you can come and just sign in. It will be on the 6th floor. And come hear those conversations and get inspired.
Dean Janelle Jones. Known her a long time. Of course, Courtney Kelly and Miss Alyssa Cahan. Did I do it right? Cahoon. Thank you all from MATC. Talking about, again, women getting into protective service field. Great opportunities there. So, ladies, appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
much.
you.
For having us.
All right, Inside Say Something Real. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Donald Trump is out of control, stopping payments for healthcare and food for hungry kids, eliminating the Department of Education, and letting Elon Musk access your most private information. Now Trump and Musk are backing Brad Schimmel because they know he'll let them do whatever they want. Not Judge Susan Crawford. She'll be the check and balance we need to protect us from Trump when he goes too far. That's why we need Judge Susan Crawford on the Supreme Court.
Real with your host, Michelle Bryant on WNOV.
All right, welcome back.
Wow, Michelle, you look different.
Yeah, I know. You know what's real interesting though? When did she start doing that rejoiner? Because for a long time she didn't have one, did she? Copying off of me, man.
Well,
See,
what had happened was
feather, you know?
what had happened was she had one. When I was doing the board, I stopped using them.
Oh, so now the truth was coming out.
Yeah, I stopped using them.
All right, welcome back. Hopefully we're not gonna get back on the couch. Caller, welcome to the program.
Well, see, I didn't get my chance to chime in, man.
Oh, okay. Well,
because I wanted to say something. You know, Jermaine had forced us into break the last time.
See,
Like,
come on, man. No, I had to go to break because management, you know, and I follow the rules around here. I just push buttons.
I'm part of that team, just in case you didn't know it.
What Kia used to call a company man.
Right.
Company man.
Oh, man.
No, I didn't have anything, man. You did have a caller?
Yeah, caller, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Twice.
Good morning.
3 times a day.
They hung up because I'm telling you, we had the phones worked on over the weekend, and
No, Doc, it's still here. I don't think the phones.
Well, just hang up. They call back 414. I know people wanted to get in as we were going to break and bringing in the segment with MATC and women. You know, it for a lot of times you know, you got women bus drivers now, and you know, certainly women police officers, firefighters, certainly correctional officers. If you go out to what is it now? The CRC, the old House of Correction, that you see there are a lot of women. A lot of them I know. As a matter of fact, I remember when Janelle came, and she came to the department as a correctional officer. So they make good money. They work hard. They make good money. Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Keith. Good morning, Debo. Good morning, Mr. Rideout.
Good morning.
Top of the morning, sir.
Hey, earlier you guys were speaking on the subject of people being gay, and you know this subject has came up many times on WNOB, and
like once a week.
exactly.
Yeah, but we're usually not the one to bring it up. Usually it's Meech.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, Meech. Well, hey, I'm glad you mentioned Meech because I've had some pretty intense encounters with Meech over the radio over the years, and you know he was really down on gay people. I called him one day and I asked him a question: what if somebody in your family happened to turn up gay? You know, well, how would you handle? How would you deal with the situation? You know, myself. I never had anything against gay people. Only thing I want from everybody is respect. And if somebody happens to be born in my family that's gay, I thought about that seriously over the years, and you know, I would love them just as the same as any other of my family members, you know, and support them and help them. I believe that if a person is gay, I mean, I hear people have opinions on that on, you know, this morning on, you know, people having their comments. However, the best way that you could get an information on a gay person is from a gay person, because us making guesses on what's going on with the gay person, we don't know because we don't walk in those shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, we have to consider that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm sure that there's gay listeners out there. You know what I'm saying? And I encourage them to call in and maybe share some of the things that with the listening audience that we just don't know about because we don't walk in those shoes. Thank you guys and have a great day.
I appreciate you. Yeah, I think we try to make it so. I'm trying. What's the word I want to use? I don't know if the word is binary, where, you know, it's absolute for some people, you know, that this is. And we cannot underestimate the oversized influence that religion has. You know, we're getting better with women. Okay, let's just go back to that one. We're getting better with women in terms of where we are. But even then, this is Women's History Month. And I look at, again, talking about religion, where certainly when it comes to clergy, women are underestimated. I don't even know if women make up 10% of clergy in the Christian tradition. And it leads to a whole lot of issues. And I know one of the real vexing issues in our society today is this whole issue around transgender and people who are so absolute. If you're born male, you're male. If you're born female, you're female. And it's that absolute. And then what we don't take into account is that there's biology there, right? Where you can have a person who, you know, when it comes to those X and Y chromosomes, where, you know, it can, what's the word? I'm not going to say get mixed up, but it can be different than what is normal. And like I said, when we went to break, I was talking about there are exceptions to most scientific rules. The only exception is death. Everything and everybody dies. But when you look at it in between life and death, there's all these things out there. It's hard. So, for example, most human beings have melanin, right? That thing that gives us complexion. But then we have albinos. So we know that then there's the exception to the melanin rule, that there are people who are born with not the same amount of melanin that other human beings have. I don't know why that is. I do know why. This idea that then if that science exists and we pretty much accept that science, why is it so difficult then to accept the science around people who, around their sexuality? And again, I just believe a lot of it's just what we've been taught, the conditioning. I mean, it's little subtle things that we do, which probably has no impact on one's sexuality. You know, and it's start talking about untraditional roles for women. There was a truck, and Kennedy was playing, and Kennedy didn't play with trucks. You know, she said trucks are for boys, and I'm thinking, or she's attracted to pink. It's like when we do reveal parties, which is crazy, but we do reveal parties now, and so blue for a boy, pink for a girl. Are we already assigning roles in terms of just on gender, you know, based on those color selections, right? So I think that it's easy for us to kind of fall back on what we've been taught, but as we're discovering some of the things that we were taught were wrong and not necessarily based in fact, someone just texted me, said I cannot speak for another denomination, but Methodists have a lot of women in clergy. But what is that percentage? If that 25% is the threshold for underrepresentation, what is the number of women? Is it 25%? Is it 50%? Women make up 53% of America's population. They certainly do not make up 53% of Congress. They don't make up 53% of a lot of professions that people find themselves in, like the so-called non-traditional professions for women. So we'll see. They hopefully text me with the percentage. Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you, brother.
Good morning.
Yeah, how you doing?
I'm all right.
All right. Hey, listen, I heard the conversation earlier. I tried to jump in there, but your guest came in. Then a caller called in, and somebody implemented me as being the person that always bring up that conversation.
You know who it was, me. Quit playing with me.
Well, listen, I usually jump in that conversation when it's already there, and then I inject my thoughts.
Okay.
Going back to the very beginning, when you were talking about Rideout was asking a question, and where you were asking a question, and it seemed like a learned behavior, and I believe that it is in most instances. It's a learned behavior. But listen, this ain't gonna hurt long, man. I promise you. And you'll be all right when the swelling go down. Check this out. When you can take two little puppies and put them on the floor, and they'll run around in the backyard. So you know you'll catch one humping on the other. A little dog may come around you and hoot your leg. A little puppy. Now, he never seen two big dogs do it. And if he did, he probably wouldn't know exactly what they were doing. Probably wouldn't know what they were doing. But it's a natural thing. It's in the flesh. It's a fleshly desire. Even plants want to recreate. You understand? So it's a lustful thing. It's in our flesh. And some preachers want to get up and say, you got a lust demon on you, and you got to be this, and you got to. No, that's natural. Now, when that's a natural deal. But when you go outside the natural, now you're dealing with a demonic force. Because now you're dealing with a demonic force. And if you participate, now you got a dual problem. You got a lustful, a fleshly problem that's going to crave women or whatever you crave, sex. And then you got a demonic thing that you latched onto that will crave the same nature as you.
So
you know
albinos. So how would you then, if there are exceptions to general rules, how would you then explain albinos?
Well, that's the apex of the gene.
Okay, but what I'm saying is that
you just told me to explain it. Now you finna cut into me. I'll finna explain it.
Go ahead, Doc.
No, you go ahead, Doc, because you good as me.
Don't get all frustrated, man. Go on. Don't let me frustrate you.
Huh?
Don't let me frustrate you. Go on, make your point.
Okay, well, listen. Well, you said, how do you explain the albino? That's the apex of the gene, brother. That's when there's no coloration, no nothing. You at the bottom of you at the apex. That means you know, outside of being transparent, that's where you at. There's nothing left there for melanin, whether you white or black. Believe it or not, white folk got melanin too.
And white folks have albinos.
Yes, they do have albinos, brother. We got albinos. I mean, hey, look here, that's where you get the black blonde from. That's where you get the black blonde from. Now, her hair might not be as straight. It won't be straight unless you constantly breathe the albino. Then you begin to break down the apex. You at the apex, then the apex become broke down. Well, you know what? You got stringy hair. If you take some albinos and start breeding them in a few generations, you're going to have white looking folk, man. Because there'll be nothing else. All the texture, everything will be bred out of. But that ain't what I call for. Leviticus 18, 22, I believe. It talks about man should not sleep with mankind and women should not sleep with women kind. Okay? Then you go over to Romans, the first chapter. What do it say? It says men burning with lust towards each other. Okay, being burning with lust towards each other. This is a forbidden thing. This is an abomination. It's not a regular sin. Everybody wants to say, your sin, me ain't no better than the next sin. You chase women, you may gamble, you lie. You sin ain't no. Hey, look here, brother. But we're talking about
one, you call homosexuality a sin, and then you say it's the worst sin.
No, I said it's an abomination. There's quite a few abominations. Abomination is when you defy the very law of God.
You also, when you talk about abomination, eating lobster, according to Leviticus, is an abomination.
Okay, because you know why? You know what you're doing? You defying what God has said not to do. You saying it's all right. You don't compromise. You know, when you talk, you guys were talking about preachers earlier being caught up in the You look at Bishop Flake's whole clan. All them boys was kind of pinky-weak. And then if I go to call the names, I ain't gonna call no more names.
Come on, man. Hey, hold on, man. For you to say that about Bishop Flakes.
Hey, man, look here. I did not reject that.
Yeah, man, that's not cool, man. Don't.
Okay, hey, brother, I apologize. That slipped out on an accident. I got caught up in the moment. Okay, so I'm asking the listening audience, forgive me.
Okay, forgive him.
Now, right out. Do you forgive me?
Oh, of course, brother.
You are,
Right out.
you are
you know
forgiven.
I'm
Hold on, let me do
right out.
absolution here. You are forgiven. Go from this place in peace. We need to take a break.
You give him the cross.
Oh, we going out?
Yeah, you gave him the cross.
Yeah, that's absolution. That's
Yeah.
that's what you get for absolution. You know what the Catholics.
Yeah.
So let me thank Michelle for allowing me to sit in for her today on Say Something Real. When we come back, we'll be inside Community Voice, and we'll pick up this conversation on the other side. We'll be, well, holla at you in a minute.
Say something.